Okay, so for these pork loins, we're only going to probably cook it about 2 hours to get it up to 140 degrees. I want to get it to 140, and then I want to pull it off the grill, and then I'm going to let it rest for probably at least 30 minutes. The temperature's going to probably get up to about 145, and that's going to be perfect for slicing. So the way we're going to cook that is I'm going to set up the snake method inside the Weber Kettle, and I'm going to do 2x2 coals all the way around, probably about halfway around, if that, for 2 hours. I'm not going to need a whole lot. I'm going to add a couple of chunks of cherry wood just to get a little bit of a smoked flavor. Cherry goes real good with pork, gives it a little bit of a sweetness. So not a ton of smoke, but just a few chunks just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. So here's how we're going to set up the snake. Dump some coals in the bottom of the grill. And we're just going to start 2x2. You want to make sure your coals are touching or maybe overlapping just a little bit. And this is going to give you a real even temperature. It makes it super easy to control the temperature as you go along. I mean, for a couple hours, this isn't going to be any problem. I've used this method and kept it going for up to 10 hours when we're doing a pork butt for some pulled pork. But it's a really great method if you're using a kettle to be able to control that temperature, maintain your temperature, and not have to keep adding coals to it all the way around. We're using the Kingsford charcoal. Kingsford really works really well for this. For a 2-hour cook, that is probably about all the coals we're going to need on the bottom for the first layer. So then we'll come back and we'll stack them on top again. I really like this method. I tried using the minion method, which is where you basically have your basket in the side and you add hot coals on top of unlit coals, but it was just too tough to control the temperature for me. I didn't really care for that method. If you're a fan of lump charcoal, then this method's probably not the best. This method doesn't work very well with lump charcoal. Lump charcoal is real inconsistent as far as the way it burns and the different sizes of the lump charcoal. So I'm gonna stick with the briquettes, I believe, for a while. Make sure all these are touching. Nice 2x2 stack all the way around. I should be able to keep the grill right around 250 degrees, and that's going to be the temperature that I'm reading on the lid of the grill. So at the grate, it's going to be a little more than that. Now the way we're going to get this snake started is I'm going to put about 6 or 8 coals inside my chimney. I'm going to get those nice and red hot. As soon as they're ashed over, we're going to come back in here and stack them 2x2 just like we have here, and we're going to get that charcoal started that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get the charcoal in the chimney, and then when it's ready, we'll come back and show you how we get this snake started. Alright, so the way we're going to get our chimney started, I'm a big fan of the Weber lighter cubes. There's a lot of different ways you can start it, but the easiest way I found a long time ago, I used to just douse it with lighter fluid, but as I found out, that's far from the best way to do this. We're going to use the Weber lighter cubes. We're going to put it right underneath the chimney, and you can see here I've got 8 coals inside my chimney. So we're just going to put our lighter cube down here. Going to get him going, and then we're just going to set our chimney right over the top of it, and that's going to get those coals nice and red hot. And once they're nice and red hot, we're going to get this snake started. You can see how I've got my cherry wood stacked. I've got 3 pieces in there. I like to have more wood at the beginning of the cook it seems like the meat, I mean, the meat's really only going to take the smoke for so long, so I don't see a big need to have a lot of wood all the way around. So we'll just stack our cherry wood toward the beginning of the snake, and get a little bit of smoke flavor in that pork loin. Should be delicious. Alright, so here we have the 2 of the 2 pound pork loins, and this is the rub that we're going to put on top of it. It's made up of onion powder, garlic powder, paprika, and a little bit of cayenne pepper in there just to give it just a little bit of kick. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to just put a little bit of olive oil on top. Then we're going to take our rub and we're just going to sprinkle it on top of it. And what this is going to do is, man, it has a nice smoky smell to it already. Cayenne pepper is going to give it just a little bit of kick. The onion powder is going to give it just a little bit of sweetness. And once we get that on, we're going to rub that all in. Flip it over. Go ahead and get all that mopped up off the tray, so you get a nice little bit of rub on the bottom as well. Just rub that all in. Just a little bit extra on the bottom. Alright, we're going to let these rest here for about another 20 minutes, and then they're going to be ready to throw on the grill. Alright, well, we got the chimney getting started. I'm going to come over here and show you that we got the Blackstone griddle set up, and we're going to make some sweet and sour peppers to go along with that pork. It's going to go real nice with that pork that we're going to slice up here in just a little bit. And what I've done to get this griddle set up is I've actually unscrewed the front legs just a little bit so that this thing tilts on an angle back. We're going to be using some olive oil. We're going to be using some red wine vinegar, and I don't want that to run off into our grease drain when I pour it on the top of the peppers. So I've got the front jacked up just a little bit, so when I pour that red wine vinegar on there, it's going to kind of run toward the back, and we can finish our peppers on the back of the griddle and get them a real nice finish there before all the red wine vinegar runs off into the trap. So really looking forward to using this for those. Should be delicious. Stay tuned. Alright, so we've got our coals nice and hot. They're all ashed over really good. You can see here, you can see there we've got a nice ash covered coal, and now we're just going to pull those out and we're going to stack them in the grill just like we did when we made the snake initially. And what this is going to do is let that snake start to heat up, and it'll start burning these coals all the way around. A big mistake I made when I was starting out grilling was I just had no patience, and I would always get my grill too hot, and then it would take forever to come down to temperature, and then once it comes down to temperature, I just kept losing temperature, and it was real frustrating. So I've learned that if you just start off low, it's a lot easier to get the temperature to come up than it is to maintain temperature if you start off too high trying to make your grill come down. So I just used about 8 coals there. We're going to get that started. So now I'll take my wood chunk and I'll move it right over to the front of it. Now my grates, my vents on the bottom, I've got my vent open, wide open right now. I'm going to close that down to about halfway, and I'm going to start my top vent off at about halfway, and give it about 15 minutes, see where my temperature regulates at, and make my adjustments from there. So that's how we're going to get started. I'm going to go ahead and put my grate on. Close the lid down. Gonna close my top vent about halfway. Make my adjustment on the bottom. Alright, we're going to try to get this up to about 250 degrees before we put the pork loin on, and that should be just about right. Alright, so now we got our grill up to about 250 degrees. I double checked that temperature with this with our thermometer, digital thermometer that we picked up. That's going to go in the meat, but I just took the probe down through the vent, and it's verifying that the temperature inside the grill is right about 250 degrees right now. So we're going to go ahead and get these 2 pork loins going. You can see our snakes starting to burn around. We're starting to burn a little bit on that cherry wood now. We're going to get these right on the grate. And now we're going to take our meat thermometer. I'm going to put that into the thick part of the meat. And what that's going to allow us to do is not have to keep opening this grill to keep checking on our temperature. Alright, so we got our thermometer set. The temperature that we're looking for is going to be 140 degrees. So we've got it set for 140 degrees. You can see right now our temperature of the meat is right about 69 degrees. This thermometer has an alarm on it, so when it gets to 140, the alarm is going to go off. And now with the snake set up, the way it burns that charcoal around, you're not going to have to keep opening that grill and adding coals. We're going to be able to control the temperature with the vents. So I like to keep my top vent and my bottom vent close to the same amount open. The bottom right now is about 3/4 open, and so is the top. So we'll see what that does with the temperature, but it seems to be that kept me about 250 degrees. So we'll let that start cooking, and we'll go on in and get these peppers all chopped up and ready to go on the griddle. All right, here we got the peppers we're going to use for our sweet and sour peppers. Now, when we cut the peppers, we're not going to cut them on their side like this. That's pretty difficult. Pepper's round, rolls around. So we're going to cut the end off, and then we're going to stand it up. And we're going to come just down the side. And there you go. You got a beautiful mixture of green, red, yellow, and orange peppers. And once we throw these on the Blackstone, they're going to combine to make a very, very, very delicious combination of sweet and sour peppers. Alright, so we're 1 hour into our pork loin, and as you can see, we're sitting right about 134 degrees. We got our grill temperature holding steady at 250 degrees according to the thermometer on the lid, so our grate temperature is going to be obviously a little bit higher than that. We've got a nice little smoke coming out of here. It's cooking a little quicker than I thought it would, but that's the good thing about having your meat thermometer in there. I know my temperature, is not too high, and I know that we're going to be able to pull this off at 140 degrees. So we'll see how long it takes to get up to that, but I'm thinking maybe another 30 to 40 minutes, and we might be ready to go ahead and pull this off and let it rest, and then we'll get the peppers going on that Blackstone griddle. Alright, so it's been about an hour and a half. We're right up to about 141 degrees, right where we want this pork loin. Check that out. Look at that. So now we're going to pull this off. go ahead and take this bad boy off right now. Gonna put it right on the tray. And now we're going to take our foil over the top of it and let that rest. By the time it rests, it's going to get probably around 150 degrees. All the juices will redistribute back through the meat, and it'll be ready to slice in about a half an hour. Alright, now that we got our pork loin resting over here off to the side, we're going to go ahead and get the sweet and sour peppers started. We've got our red, orange, yellow, and green peppers all cut up. And what you're going to need for this is some black pepper. You're going to need some salt, sugar, and some red wine vinegar. I'm going to show you how this all goes together. First thing we're going to do on our griddle, we got it nice and hot. We're going to put a little bit of olive oil on there to get it started. We're going to take our peppers right on the griddle. We're going to go ahead and season them with the salt. Go ahead and put some pepper on there. I'm going to cook these for just a couple of minutes. They'll get nice and hot. Now we're going to add our sugar on top. And what that's going to do, that's really going to caramelize these peppers, give them a nice sweet flavor. You're going to use about a tablespoon of sugar on this. We got the griddle up on a medium-high heat. Get everything nice and hot. See, the peppers are starting to get dark now, and that's what we're looking for. We want these things to really get cooked down good. Once you get a nice caramelization on the peppers, time to add your red wine vinegar right on top. Now what I've done is I've got the front of my griddle raised up slightly so that red wine vinegar doesn't run off into the grease trap. We can kind of push everything to the back of the griddle and let those peppers really soak in that red wine vinegar. And we're just going to let those sit right there and just kind of stew right there on the back of the griddle in that red wine vinegar. Alright, so we've got the pork loin on the cutting board. We've got our sweet and sour peppers all finished up. Now it's time to slice this, see how it turned out, and go ahead and put it on a plate and we'll be ready to eat. So here's going to be our first cut in this pork. Oh man, look at that. nice. Just cut it nice and thin. Man, that looks absolutely delicious. It's not dried out. We let it rest for right about 30 minutes while we were finishing up our sweet and sour peppers to go with it. Man, look at that. Nice and juicy. That turned out spectacular. Really, really happy with that for being my first, the first time I attempted the pork loin. I know it's really lean meat. I know it dries out super easy. But I think we nailed this one. It doesn't look like it's dried out at all. Delicious. Let's go ahead and get that on a plate. Oh yeah. Sweet and sour peppers on top. Those peppers are going to be nice and sweet. Going to barely taste that red wine vinegar that we put in there. And that, my friends, is going to be pork loin, smoked, hour and a half to 140 degrees. Let rest for 30 minutes with sweet and sour peppers made on the Blackstone griddle. And we are ready to go get some dinner. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe. You can find us on Instagram at Joopy Outdoors. You can find us on Facebook at Joopy Outdoors. We appreciate everything, and thank you guys for watching again.